quarter drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets. When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, vintage friends on my face, looking like I'm from the deep. These no Cartiers, pockets deep, 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 bro. I can make it in my seat, bro. Do you, I'm doing me, bro.
Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, so today we're actually going to be talking about a few things, particularly what happened with my turbo. Because by now, you probably already saw the video of me putting the new turbo on there. And I might have talked about it a little bit, but we're really going to talk about what really happened, okay? I'm about to show you what happened earlier when I went to EuroMpire. I got a text from Matt, and we're wondering how we were going to approach this whole intake manifold situation. If you don't know about the intake manifold on the B58, the intake manifold actually has the intercooler integrated into it. So our thought was that maybe when the turbo blew up, all the shrapnel went up to the manifold and it got stuck in the intercooler fins. So we took it apart, and here's that. Hey, what's up, guys? This is a different day, but I decided to stop by EuroMpire. And we took apart the core. Well, Matt took apart the core, and we found the impeller piece. There's one down here at the bottom too, and they're like stuck in there. If you get like a little flashlight. But yeah, so I just thought it was interesting. But we finally found the pieces, so that means it didn't actually go into the engine. So seems like this core was my saving grace from really messing things up, right? There's definitely...
Did you videotape me taking that out of there?
Yeah. There's definitely a few more pieces in the little slots though.
All the way on the end. Sure is.
I don't think the pieces made it into the engine, huh? It doesn't look like.
They're small enough that they could have.
But they'd already been spit out by this point.
Chewed up.
Was it hard taking this manifold off?
Yeah. It sucked. I mean, it's like
Matt
anything.
says it sucks, dude.
It's like anything else. The first one you do is probably gonna be really bad, and then once you get a couple under the belt, it probably won't be too bad.
Dude, did it just have to pull out?
No.
Well, yeah, I really had to fucking give it hell to get it out of there.
Well, like it was loose. It just was being a bitch.
I took all the bolts off, and then I didn't know how to take these hoses off or anything, so I just let him do it. This is pretty like new territory for all of what we're doing.
Where
right here.
is that the piece right here?
That's one of them. There's like 3 more stuck in there.
Damn. Say thank you, intercooler, for saving my motor, probably.
We just got another piece out. Wow, that's crazy.
I don't think we're gonna find that other piece.
Oh, it's so. That'll be good documentation for the page, I think, no? Yeah. Looks like they bounced around a little bit.
Dude, if you look in there, you're gonna see like silver speckles.
What do you mean, silver speckles?
Look like a little one. Silver.
Oh, where it like...
Silver speckles, the oil mixed with the impaired dust that came apart.
Well, it's a good thing that thing came off, or I'd have been looking at an intake manifold.
Yeah. That's the only way I see them available. It's pretty crazy.
And they're like, what, 800, 900 bucks?
1,500.
1,500?
Actually, it was like 1,562. We literally just looking it up.
You're the man, bro. Alright, let's look in here. They don't look too bad if we look in there. This is what they look like at 60-ish thousand miles. I've seen N54s with less miles than this. They're all gunked up.
The N54s are the worst. This really isn't bad. You can just see that it's leading to something that will be an issue in the future.
Yeah. Alright, good. Now that you're back, as you can see, we had the shrapnel in there, and it's actually kind of interesting that all the shrapnel got caught. We don't think that any of it made it into the engine, so that's really good. And, you know, even if it did make it into the engine, the pieces were probably so small at that point that they probably went in and out just like that. So, not really worried about it. Anyway, so I want to talk to you guys about what actually happened and why I am in the situation that I am in right now. And basically what happened is I was doing some testing. As you guys know by now, I have CPI, charge pipe injection, in my car, which basically allows me to run a higher content of E85 by injecting it through the charge pipe. We were doing some testing on that with Terry over at BMS. Everything looked good, of course, at 18 PSI. Everything has always looked good that way. But we were testing an E50 blend, which can be done on an upgrade to high pressure fuel pump, but this alternative actually came out before all the developments in the high pressure fuel pumps right now. And one of the reasons why I'm so hesitant to even get high pressure fuel pump right now is because it hasn't been used enough. And you know, people are claiming that the super pump or the M340i pump is a direct swap, but then you hear things like they're destroying the cam followers, and there's a lot of uncertainty there, and I really don't feel like dealing with that. Now with charge pipe injection, it's proven and it has been used in other cars, namely the S63 and N63s. They draw the fuel from the low pressure fuel pump and then inject it directly into the throttle body, mix it into the engine, and then voila, you have higher volume of fuel and you can increase your ethanol content without overstressing the high pressure fuel pump. Anyway, we were doing testing and everything looked good. I have all the logs for it, and there were things, you know, of course we were adjusting stuff, and we decided to ramp it up to 20 psi. At 20 psi, everything was still really good. I got the green light to go to 22 psi. Now, running first at 22 psi, it did feel like it was leaning out a little bit. So we upped the fuel, but before we even did any of that, I ran into the issue where I sent the initial logs and the logs were great. I mean, if I look at the logs even now, the timing is great. It stays anywhere from like 9 to 11 degrees of timing, and the boost was holding. But after I did those logs, I did have two major backfires when I was trying to do pulls. So I had the backfires, but they were the only instances. Those were the only two times when I had, you know, backfires. And so after that, I kind of dialed down the boost, and I told Terry about it, you know, like, I don't know what's going on. And he said, you know what, let's just keep an eye on it. Go ahead and go back to 22 PSI and do some more logs, and, you know, we'll take a look at it, because the logs look good. I mean, they really did. They look great. So So we went back to 22 psi. The night that it happened, I was with a friend and we were just riding up to the gas station to go get some more E85 because I was running low on fuel. So as we're going up there, I was driving normally and everything. He hadn't been in my car before, so I was like, hey, let me show you like the progress that we've made. He's seen my car run before, and he saw my car run after I did the CPI on it, and he has the Supra. So my car was keeping up a little bit better with the Supra now. That Supra is fast, like it's ridiculous. So I was keeping up with the Supra, not, you know, I wasn't pulling, he was pulling away from me. So, you know, I cranked down the gears and then I just sent it. And it pulled power really well until I heard a really, really loud noise. But it wasn't a boom, it was just a loud noise, kind of like it sounded almost like a supercharger, and I lost all the boost and all my power. And we just kind of looked at each other like, oh crap. And at that moment, the first thing that went through my head was I just blew my turbo. And no check engine lights came on or anything, so I was like, okay, well, we'll just keep driving. We came to a gas station and I called EuroMpire, or I called Matt, and I was like, hey, you know, this is what just happened, can you help me? And he was like, you know, he was trying to, I'm pretty sure he already knew what was wrong with the car, but he was trying to be nice about it. And he was like, you know, let's check everything, blah, blah. And then I decided that I wanted to take a look at it and see what really happened. So I took the intake apart, the charge pipe, everything. Well, not the charge pipe, I took the intake apart and I looked in there with the camera and everything, and sure enough, the impeller was broken. So I showed Matt. He was like, yeah, your turbo is done. And I was like, crap. So I took it to the shop, and you know, that same night I was kind of like feeling down because I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know, to buy this turbo. I can't have the car down. I had already bought my daily, but I hadn't picked it up yet at this point. And so I was, you know, talked it over with my wife, and we decided the best route was to go ahead and do an upgrade. If I'm gonna go buy a turbo, an OEM turbo, and it's gonna be about as expensive to get an upgrade, I might as well get an upgrade. I went ahead and talked to Juan, and we got the stage 4 big boost kit. So you know, it's kind of like a no-brainer, and I just went ahead and pulled the trigger. There are a lot of questions out there right now about, you know, how it happened, why it happened. And you know, when the news came out that I blew up my turbo, a lot of people DM'd me immediately and were like, oh my god, am I at risk? Is my turbo gonna blow up? And so I kind of want to clear some of that up. First of all, the tuners that are tuning these cars, like MHD, Bootmod, MG Flasher, JB4, all those guys, they know how far to push these cars on a off-the-shelf tune. So they're not gonna overstress the tune. I mean, these guys go through a lot of testing to make sure that the tunes are safe. Now, are there outliers? Yes, of course there are outliers, but I do not think for once that there will be an OTS tune that will destroy your turbo. I don't think that. And honestly, the people that I have seen blow up their turbo before is because they got a little greedy with boost, or they lacked, you know, some sort of, you know, they lacked fueling and they ran too lean. That caused a whole other type of catastrophe. But as far as blown turbos, I don't think an OTS tune is going to destroy your turbo. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. Honestly, this is an isolated case. I know that it happened because we were pushing the car. Also have to understand that CPI was kind of new for me and nobody else had really done a lot of testing on it. I do not blame this on CPI though. It did what it was supposed to do, which was increase fuel volume and overall let me increase my ethanol content. I'm sure we could push it beyond E50 because that's where we stopped at. I never ran more than 20 psi on my turbo, so pushing it up to 22 may have been too much for my turbo. You know, that's fine because it allows us to see what are kind of like the safe limits of the turbo. Sucks that it happened to me because I had to fork out the money to replace it, but at least, you know, this is a good baseline for everybody. Now with more fueling options on the B58 platform, it's easier to push these turbos to higher boost levels and create more power. But honestly, the upgrade options are so good, it would almost make no sense for you not to, and then wait for something like this to happen, and then, you know, kind of be forced into that. So I say if you have the money to spend, just go ahead and do a turbo upgrade. CPI works. That's all I have to say about that. it works. So if that's something that you're looking for in your build, I'd say go ahead and pick it up. I'll tell you this, when I switched over to CPI, I have also XHP, that's the transmission tune, but I was not able to hold the power to the wheels anymore with my settings, meaning that my launch torque was too much, which means that I was making too much power to the point where I was doing 4-wheel burnouts, and that's kind of nutty. So I had to dial down the torque to get my car to launch properly because it wasn't able to hold it before. So I know that CPI works. I think it's a great alternative if that's something you're into, if that's something you want to try. If you don't want to spend $1,500 to $2,000 on a fuel pump, CPI is like $400, $400 or $500, and you get some amazing results out of it. Is it the best solution? No, of course a high pressure fuel pump is always going to be the best solution. But like I said before, there hasn't been enough testing and there hasn't been enough information on that for me to try it. So yeah, we're going to continue to build now. Of course, now I have the bigger turbo and fueling doesn't seem to be an issue at this point. I will want to get a high pressure fuel pump, but I'm kind of waiting on some things to line up and waiting on more development. Anyway guys, I wanted to put this video out and kind of clear things up. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. If you watched through this video, subscribe. I have more stuff coming because we're not done with my car. When we're done, it's gonna be wild, man. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.